Hello everyone, today's video is another installment of my WTF Are Brands Doing. This is where I share my thoughts on some new makeup releases, and I know that I am kind of late with a lot of these releases, and it is because, first off, I'm filming this on February 26th, and you're not going to see this until a little bit into March. And I know you guys enjoy these new makeup releases. I really should be filming them more often for you guys. I think the last one I did was either at the very end of January or sometime in the very beginning of February. And a lot has happened in the last month or so. And in the makeup world, anything over 2 weeks is considered old. So there is some releases on this list that's been out for a little bit, but I'm sure you guys want to hear my thoughts on them anyway. I also filmed my February low buy update already. And at that point in the video, I did not get my Fenty bronzer. So I just want to share with you guys here that I did get my Fenty bronzer, because I want to be transparent with you all. I got it in Into Sun. The reason why I wanted this so bad is because I've been wanting it for a long time. The color is super light and I hope it's a nice tone for my skin. But my friend DW raves about this. She finished hers up and I would like to own it. So I did buy it off of DW's recommendation. It's in my collection now. But these products that I'm talking about, none of these are in my collection. I would say maybe one of them interests me in my own personal collection, in my own personal life, but I am not planning on buying any of these. I'm just sharing my thoughts of these new palettes. A release that is probably the most popular as of recently, and I feel this way with all of Nomad's releases, is that it's 2 days of straight all I see is Nomad, and then it dies down. And then their next release is 2 days of Nomad, and then it goes back down. It's just a lot, and they send out a lot of PR, and I have graciously gotten PR once in the past, and I do have a code with Nomad, but I just feel like everyone puts out their Nomad video in the first 2 days, and it's just a little overwhelming. It's a little overwhelming. So the most popular thing in this video is going to be this Nomad palette from my point of view as a viewer of YouTube and seeing certain people on YouTube. So this is a pretty decent sized release from Nomad. It is a cruise collection. Nomad is a travel brand, a lot of their palettes, all of their palettes, and their theming is based off of travel, and they're based off of that sort of mentality. So it's only a matter of time until we got something cruise related. And not gonna lie, I don't like the release. I know. I love Nomad. I like their formulas and stuff. Each palette is $39, which is cheaper than their palettes that they've done in the past. So part of me feels like this is a cheaper formula to make for them. And then this is also magnetic, so that would add on an extra cost. So I'm just not sure formula-wise these are at in comparison to their other Nomad palettes. I do like to see that they are going into a different direction in terms of magnetic palettes. In theory, that means a lot to me. In practicality, it means nothing, because how often am I rearranging my palettes? I don't rearrange them. How often am I doing BYOP? Very rarely. And the magnetic thing, it's really nice to have, especially for the people that do these things all the time. But for me and my collection, it doesn't really add that much value, but I understand why it adds a lot of value to other people. Second thing, I don't like having a separate matte and a separate shimmer palette. Blend Bunny done this twice, might I add. I just hate that idea that you're pretty much convincing your audience to purchase two palettes because they do want both mattes and shimmers for the most part. I do not like having them separated. I do not naturally reach for all matte palettes. I don't naturally reach for all shimmer palettes. So overall, not the biggest fan of the eyeshadow palettes. They do have two highlighters, and I do like the directions they went. They have a more pinky toned one. They have a little bit more of a warmer one. I think this kind of scans into multiple different skin tones, multiple different preferences, and you can kind of pick up one that fits your preferences better, and you have something that is really, really light that you can use as a very pinpointed highlight, and you have something a little bit deeper that you could use as a blush topper, you could use as a bronzer topper. So overall, I think the highlighters are a very good idea. Formula-wise, I obviously don't know what they're like. My friend DW on Instagram and YouTube, and I talk to her all the time, she did a comparison of the mattes of this Nomad palette and then the mattes of Snow Angel from Simply Posh. And they were extremely, extremely similar. I will put up a screenshot of her story. I did screenshot it specifically for this video. The pictures from this palette look awfully similar to the mattes that are in the Nomad palette. I also thought it was a little weird that the mattes are pretty desaturated and they're not very bright and colorful, whereas the All Shimmer palette, they're very bright and colorful. So I am not, like, the disconnect there, I just don't understand. But seeing the picture of DW swatches of the matte palette and the mattes from Snow Angel, I just know that I definitely don't need the matte palette, and I don't use all shimmer palettes, so I'm not going to get the all shimmer palette. Palettes were a miss. Highlighters were a good idea. I like seeing a little bit of a different product other than eyeshadow. Something that literally got released the minute before I started filming this video was the Silver and Cold palette from Odens Cosmetics. I have one Odens palette and I love that palette so much. It is one of my favorites. This Odens one is a little bit more cool tones. It's blues. It's like dusty, mauvey purple shades. There's like a pop of green in here. And I really like the outside packaging. It's simple. It looks like a faux leather. I don't know if it is faux leather or not. The Odens palette looks gorgeous. This is the only palette in this entire video that I am tempted by. They don't have a price tag on this. It does come out $3.6, so by the time this video comes up, I don't know if it's going to be released yet or not. This palette is very tempting for me. I do love blues, and some of these colors are so pretty. The main colors that is really calling my name is that very center shade. It looks like a lavender, blue, white mixture of things. There's like this mint, I don't think it's mint, more of like a sea foamy mint shimmer above that, and then like the sea foam minty matte. Looks beautiful. This one is definitely calling my name. I don't know much else about this palette because all I know is it's called Silver and Cold, and that's what it looks like. Something that I don't think was needed at all, and I've seen quite a few more, what shall we call it, neutral palettes. Spicy neutrals is always going to be a thing. It's always going to be around, but this is definitely spicy neutrals, and shall I call it sultry neutrals, because Glaminatrix is coming out with the Old Soul palette, and I am thinking they are going to be putting out multiple different palettes within this collection. The Old Soul is the first of the Artitude collection, so there is going to definitely be more within this collection as time goes on. And looking at this palette, it just gives me a new and improved ABH Sultry vibe. Sultry, right? The one with the silver, the grays, and the pop of like pinky color. This palette reminds me of that palette. I was not interested in the ABH one. I'm not interested in this Glaminatrix one. This one does take it up a notch. It gives you a little bit more depth. It gives you a better range of colors, and it gives you more punchy shimmers than what ABH would give you. But the overall vibe, the overall color story, I'm obviously not very impressed with it. And I just, I don't know, not really doing it for me. Glaminatrix is one of those brands I really, really want to try. But other than Tones of Turd, which I did talk myself out of, other than that palette, like nothing has really, really stood out to me other than palettes that are no longer available. So anything new, have not been a fan of, or, you know, it's just not something special enough for me to go out and buy. It is a, is it New Zealand or Australian? It's one of those down there in the southern hemisphere, one of those places. So I don't know, tariffs and shipping and all that stuff. I'm sure it'll be a pretty penny to get it to me. I'm interested to see what else comes in this collection, whether palettes, if they have other different products going in to this sort of collection and theme. I'm interested of the future. I'm not interested in this specific palette. I am wearing an Adept palette today. I'm wearing the Heather Austin palette, and let me tell you, I did not, like, the end result looks fine, but I did not like the process of putting my eyeshadow on this morning. That's currently my next in line for a chopping block video. So Adept already does not have a very good taste in my mouth because of the palette that I do have and that I have tried. I have definitely heard the formula has improved, but with the price tag of said palettes, does this have a palette price? No. Or at least Makeup on Your Radar does not have a price for the palette. Just knowing how expensive they are, and I just know that at the end of the day, I feel like I'm not going to be that impressed with it. This is the Sapphire palette. Sapphire is like a blue gemstone thing. This to me does not really say gemstone. And I feel like this is a very similar color story to the Divroon palette. There's a lot of very beautiful looking shimmers. And honestly, the shimmers in this palette do look up my alley. I do like a more lighter shimmer. And there's definitely different nuances in these shimmers, different colors, different shades. There's this one called Snowbird, which looks beautiful. The price tag. I feel like the price tag to me would really set me off because the palette I've tried, the shimmers are definitely nice. The mattes, on the other hand, are not nice. I personally do not feel comfortable putting my money into Adept because historically I have not been impressed. This palette, I really like the colors in it. I don't think the outside packaging screams Sapphire. It looks very green. I do like the simplicity of the packaging and let's change the color of stuff. I do like the packaging itself. It looks very similar to the Natasha Denona midi palettes. Color story, I like it. I feeling that the Adept formula I'm not going to like. And the price tag is going to be a little too ridiculous for me. Something I am very, very, very tempted to buy. So Blend Bunny does have like a Blend Bunny skin line. Some skincare related items. I personally have never tried any of their skincare. And I'm kind of on the fence on indie branded skincare. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just I just haven't bitten the bullet yet. There was a period in my life where I didn't even trust indie branded makeup because of how niche it is. So maybe I do need to give some indie brand skincare a try. I don't know. They are coming out with Vanishing Act Micellar Water, but then they also have this Unveil Cleansing Balm. The Cleansing Balm is what I'm interested in, but I feel like that has already been in the lineup. And I feel like I've heard someone say really good things about it, but I really do want to try the Cleansing Balm. I do have a Holy Grail micellar water. It's this one. This was in my empties. That's sitting right next to me. So I already have a micellar water I love so much. If you guys have tried the Cleansing Balm, let me know your thoughts down below. Because if Blend Bunny comes out with something later this year that actually interests me, I would pick up a Cleansing Balm as well to try it out. We have Clarity Cosmetics. So this is the Quiet Night palette. They are saying we are so excited to launch a first ever lab-made palette. Because in the past, I believe they've all been hand-pressed, handmade, and stuff like that. So this is a lab-made palette. Hopefully that means these shadows will not break in transit because Clarity has had lots of issues with transporting eyeshadow and them breaking. I've seen so many people talk about their Clarity eyeshadows breaking and how fragile they are. This specific palette, I feel it could have been cut in half and it's a little too big. And I do like the overall color scheme. I like the overall vibe, except for I think it's just a little too big. A lot of these grungy tones, a lot of the blue colors, I feel like they could have died down a little bit. And this color story isn't something that is so grasping to me that like I need to have it. While I'm making these videos, I am coming at it from a consumer standpoint. I don't have all the money in the world. I don't have infinite amount of eyeballs and, you know, hours in a day, days in a year, and space on my shelf to order and to have multiple palettes. I already have too many palettes. So coming at this at a standpoint of, do I really need this palette? Because I have grungy green tones in my Yucca palette. I have some pretty blues in that Snow Angel palette. I have pretty blues in my Winter Wonderland palette. I have some striking oranges in palettes here and there. I believe my one Juvia's Place palette has some really nice oranges, if I'm thinking correctly. Like, this palette itself does not need to be in my collection. And it is retailing for $56. For that price and for the amount of eyeshadow you're getting, the options you have, I don't think that's horrible. I have never tried Clarity Cosmetics, so I'm hopeful for them in the future. And if they continue to do these sorts of palettes in the $56, you know, price range, you know, the amount of colors you're getting is really good for $56, then I would be a little bit more enticed maybe in a future launch. But this specific one isn't cutting it for me. So Ladybug Glow is back in action, and this, is it in combination with Gourmand Girls, or is it just being sold on Gourmand Girls' website? They're very similar, and when I say similar, like, I feel like they're usually together in some way, shape, or form. This palette is pretty. I'm not gonna lie about it. And as someone who loves blues and purples, this palette is very pretty. And the colors are very pretty. But the shimmers are not exactly my vibe. And it's not my vibe. Like, I can appreciate it for what it is. I think the packaging, I think this is definitely a step up from Ladybug Glow. Historically, I did not like their packaging. I thought their packaging was very clip art mediocre. That's the best way I'm going to put it. Packaging wise, it has definitely stepped up, and I'm glad to see them going into a new direction. I think this is their second palette from coming back, because they do have a picture of their other palette that they have. Between this palette and their last palette that they just released not too long ago, I do prefer their first release back versus the new one, but I really do like it. Looking at it, I think it's nice, and the packaging is definitely an upgrade, and it was definitely a needed upgrade in my opinion. I can't wait to see where Ladybug Glow goes in the future. I know Erica Conger, I know she doesn't make makeup videos really anymore. She used to love and rave on Ladybug Glow, and I have never tried them, so I would like to see where they're at now. I would need a palette that would call my name more. What you know, another palette from Beaute Bar. They release so often, and for how expensive they are, how do you think people can keep up with buying your palettes? I would think as a brand, you would want your palette releases to be a little bit more intentional. And I don't want to say that they're not intentional, but I feel like the intentionality goes down the more releases that you do. This is Dead Roses Part 2 or Volume 2. Outside packaging doesn't follow suit with other palettes from Beaute Bar. And on a marketing standpoint and from a brand standpoint, you kind of want all of your stuff to look very similar, because I shouldn't want to look at this palette and think of a different brand, because honestly, that does nothing but, I think, hurt your brand. I think that's part of the reason why certain brands using the same artist creator, who definitely has a type and a theme and a mindset and an idea, when multiple brands are using the same artist, that same artist's style is a part of the brand, and so then multiple brands have the same marketing brand. Does that make sense? Beaute Bar, this palette, very pretty on the outside. I just don't think it matches the rest of the brand of the palettes that they do already own, or they already have. The inside of this packaging is giving, what is it? Magnetic Mineralia? That one is from Divroon. That one's a pretty palette, except I kind of roasted it, and I definitely don't need it in my collection. This palette looks so similar to that Diverun palette. If you have the Diverun Magnetic Mineralia palette, you do not need this. And if you have Dead Roses 1, you don't need Dead Roses 2. Like I said, color story is pretty. I like the outside packaging. I really like Beaute Bar's formula. It is just that it looks so similar to stuff that's already came out. It's just this palette is not doing it for me. Oh my god, I have so many palettes in this list. It has been so long since I've done a WTF or brands doing video. I have so many on here. Crazy. So we have the Angelic palette from Cosmic Brushes. This one looks so cute. I think it is adorable. I do appreciate that they're starting to do a little bit more of these smaller palettes, because for the longest time they only had that Gothic one. It kind of just felt out of place because it was the only small palette at the time. But I like how they're slowly getting more and more. I think light to dark range, and at least in this photo, it does look pretty good. I like the matte to shimmer ratio, 2/3 matte, 1/3 shimmer. It's just that I have these colors in my collection. I have my Juvia's Place Garden of Juvia's. I have pastels in my Tokyo Harajuku palette from Nomad. I have the like bluey colors in that Snow Angel palette. Like, I have these colors littered in my collection. I did not need the Cosmic Brushes palette, but it's cute and I can appreciate it. We have from Artitude Cosmetics the Moonlight Muse, and I'll say I've said it before, I'll say it again. Can this brand do anything other than purples? So many of their palettes include purples or they include greens. Like, this just looks like all the other palettes, and it's hard for me to separate this palette from all the other palettes, and that's kind of where I'm gonna stay at this. I love the branding and I think it's really pretty, but it's just the brand should just do something other than purples. Please, other than purples. You know how I said about that Ladybug Glow palette, how they had a first one? Yeah, that's in my list here because I never talked about it the first time. So this is the Grunge Revolution. I think this palette is really pretty. This is a palette I would pick up over their second palette, but I feel like both of them were too close together, especially since I did my WTF or Brands Doing video a month ago, and two of the palettes are in the same video. So a little bit close together, but I do really like the Grunge Resolution palette much better than the other one. This one, I know I've been waiting to talk about this. We do have some Valentine's Day releases in here because it's taken me forever to get to this video. Blend Bunny. I said about if Blend Bunny were to release something that piques my interest, then I would get the Cleansing Balm. This Diablo palette, not interesting to me whatsoever. When I am looking at this palette, it just reminds me of the old Claire's makeup. It reminds me of those like off-brand palettes from Five Below. Like, that is the vibe I am getting from this palette. I think it's cool. They partnered with a tattoo artist. I love tattoos, you guys know that. I just don't think this palette was executed very well. I don't like the outside packaging, and I obviously am not a fan of the inside. It just gives me Claire's Five Below makeup vibes, and I just, not it. So we have a new brand, Starborn Cosmetics. This was created by Bad to the Brow, and I personally don't follow her on YouTube, but I do, I think, follow her on Instagram, and does lovely swatches. If you ever need anything related to eyeshadow comparisons, singles, and stuff like that, she's the person to go to. Nascent palette? I don't know. I am very bad at pronouncing things. Palette looks pretty, except for a brand being created by Bad to the Brow. She is a shimmer queen, but this palette, it only has 4 shimmers and it has 8 mattes in it. So I think the combination of those just don't vibe together. Like, if I see this palette, it does not give me vibes of her whatsoever. I like the color story. I feel like there's definitely a time and a place. It's the grungy greens, it's the pop of orange. Like, we've seen this before already, especially already in this video, but I'm excited to have a YouTuber, you know, start a brand, you know, go through that process. It's fun to see like what they would do if they were on the flip side of things. This palette just missed the mark for me. And I think the last palette we will talk about today is another Valentine's Day release. It is the DD Signature Sweethearts and Secrets palette. Outside packaging, I'm not a big fan of. Inside, I think it's very colorful. I think it's very poppy. The colors themselves, I think, are pretty. It's just giving me vibes of a different palette they already have in their lineup. I can't decipher which one that is. But this gives me vibes of another palette they already have in their collection. DD Signature is a brand I've never tried before. It is a brand that I would like to try in the future. It is just that I have yet to find like my perfect DD Signature palette. And I would love to try them one day. I think the palettes are relatively priced. It's $48.99, at least for this specific one. I don't know if the prices differ between palettes. I just haven't found my perfect palette. And I would love to find my perfect DD Signature palette. But I think that is all that I'm going to do today in terms of new makeup releases. And when I say new, a lot of these are weeks old and they don't matter anymore in the makeup space. But I at least wanted to talk about them with you guys. I do have an entire playlist of my WTFs, our brands doing my new makeup releases talk. And I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. It is one of my more popular videos on my channel. If you are new or lurking, I highly recommend you subscribe, like this video. I do a lot of makeup related content. I do a lot of eyeshadow related content. So if that is up your alley, I recommend you stick around. Comment down below. Since I am a little late on a lot of these palettes, have you picked any of these up? And what are your thoughts and feelings on the palettes that I talked about today or the products I talked about today? I would love to hear what you have to say. Love and appreciate all of you guys so much, and I shall see you guys next time.